Buddy, to the Monday, March 11th, regular city council meeting. Let's stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First of all, we have some additions to the agenda. We've got some additional bills for approval. We're adding something to Peter Graves' approval of a donation plaque for the new pickleball court. What else are we doing?
Additional bills for approval.
I did that.
Yeah.
Is that all you had, those two things?
I'll
Okay, we need a
I'll
motion.
approve the additions to the agenda, those additions.
Okay, are you taking a roll call tonight, Shar? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, all in favor. Next, I would like to take a second to introduce everybody to Paul Satterland, our new planning and zoning administrator.
Welcome.
Let's give him a warm welcome. Welcome aboard, and we look forward to working with you, Paul. Good. Next, we have public forum. Action may or may not be taken on any issue raised. If council requires more information or time for consideration, the issue will be placed on the agenda of the next regular council meeting. Speaker must state their name and address. Come on up, Jonathan. What do you got?
I've got something completely different.
Oh, boy. Now, this was going to be a short meeting.
No, this is part of your meeting in a sense. Relating to one of your agenda items, you have a change to City Ordinance number 387, Chapter 4 of alcoholic beverages. This is not in opposition to the establishment in question. It's just I don't like changing ordinances and laws specifically for one purpose. My concern is that once the City Council changes an ordinance, it would allow for any future establishment to be granted without council review on those issues for all time. If this action takes place tonight, it would basically remove all the language having to do with locations of establishments. Permits and codes are in place to give the council legal right to intervene and to have established and have been established for good reasons. The specific establishment and their specific plans of operation are not the issue, and I don't have any issue with them. I believe the council could act to provide a conditional use permit specific to this establishment that could cause this organization to operate as they wish and still provide a better solution for the city in the long term. So I'd like to hear the city's legal input on this, but that's my opinion. Thanks.
Thank you, Jonathan. We will consider that. Anybody else? All right, Richard.
You excited?
Get it right out of the gate here.
We need name and address.
Yes, I do.
Richard ID, 38083 County Road 66, right here in Cross Lake. I just want to, there's been some talk and I've heard things about this new road construction project we're going to have this summer that involves the roundabout and the addition of new sidewalks and some of that stuff. I remember the last time we had a road construction project, we had a lot of trouble with the road being closed and people, making their way through that road closed. When we came to try to find a solution at the end of that, after the project went on and wasn't ending, we were told that they couldn't reopen that road because it wasn't in the original bid of the project. I remember we had a big meeting in here and everybody was in uproar and it was Labor Day weekend and we wanted to have temporarily open the road for Labor Day weekend, and that wasn't doable because it was never put in the original bid to have traffic through that construction zone. So my question is, before we start another road project and before we get to a new bid for another road project, can we have the foresight and can the council maybe put, a little pressure on the county to make that happen so that there is a way to get traffic through the construction zone rather than closing off traffic, through the main thoroughfare or the only way through the city. Otherwise, you're gonna have people leaking around and going around West Shore Drive like they did before, or, the only real proposed detour is up to 50 Lakes and back around. And Jake, you were there through the whole thing. People are gonna just try to find their way through, and it's gonna be a headache for you. And it's just it's something that if we can take a look at it and we can pay attention to it before it goes out for bid and before the project starts, might be something to consider.
Okay, there's lots of conversations going on about this, so, but I appreciate
That was the
your
one thing I
input.
remembered that we
Yeah.
got stuck with, that was like, if we can have the foresight to address this before it gets bid and before we get told that you can't do that, might be a good idea.
Thank you. Okay. Who is it? Sonia, go ahead. Sonia, you're muted, I believe. There you go.
There, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. I sent everybody an email this afternoon, just in case some of you didn't get a chance to look at that. I just wanted to let you know we won't be presenting anything at this meeting because we're still waiting for answers from the county. The election was last week, so I know Debbie's busy. But hopefully we get some answers from her on the differences between what the Secretary of State's office represented and what she represented at the February meeting. So just wanted to keep you up to date. We're still trying to get answers. And I would like to ask that you schedule a special meeting an hour before the April 8th, I think it is, so we can get it wrapped up so you'll have time to vote on it if you wish at that meeting.
Sonia, you're confident that you'll be prepared with the information that you need by then?
Well, the drop dead date is May 7th. So the last scheduled meeting you have before May 7th is April 8th.
Yeah, it would be nice to make a decision on it, Sonia, so try to get what you can get put together so we can take a look at it, but.
Yep, I mean, I expected to be ready, but with what Debbie said at the last meeting, a lot of it was opposite of what the Secretary of State's office told me last December, so I need to get one of them to commit to having accurate information.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So I just asked for a special meeting so we can get it wrapped up, and that was it. Thank you.
Yep, you bet. Anybody else? No? Okay, not seeing anybody moving, we'll close public forum. Next, the consent calendar. Notice to the public, all items here are listed, considered to be routine by the city council and will be acted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a citizen or a council member so requests. Everybody look at it. Anybody have any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Okay, first under the mayor's report. This is a donation. Karen Shares Cafe and Emily is asking for a donation. Are we even able to make a donation, Char? I don't believe we are. Or Jerry, do you know that?
If you can prove there's a public purpose, I think that you have the ability to make a donation. But I think if you're going to make a donation, you have to declare what the public purpose would be. And if you can determine there's a public purpose, then it's discretion of the council.
Okay, does anybody have any comments about this?
What does Jordan say? There he is.
Yes, and I heard that last comment. Good evening, everyone. The law does provide for this type of donation if it's coming from a fund created from gambling proceeds. And in the request, it does seem to reference that. So I guess my question is, does the city have, a lawful gambling fund that it can draw from here?
No. No. So,
So unfortunately, we cannot.
So they're going to have to depend on gambling proceeds, charitable gambling proceeds for that. Okay.
Well, then I guess I move to deny the request.
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries, all in favor. Now, an encroachment agreement. Boy, Paul, can I put this on you?
See how you react. Test me right out of the gate here.
Well, I think we asked the attorney to draft this encroachment agreement to approve at this meeting, and so I'm sure Jordan drafted this document.
You looked at the request last month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there any other question, comment on it? I think we're ready to approve it, I believe. Okay, somebody go ahead.
I'll move to approve it as submitted.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, all in favor? And then next is Mr. Lang paid $1,000 for a vacation application and is requesting partial refund because. That's what it says there.
Well, do people commonly receive refunds for denied applications? I mean, isn't that basically what he's doing?
I wouldn't think that you give a refund on a denied application.
Jerry?
I believe the original application was to vacate a portion of the road, and that's what the application was for. That did not go anyplace, and the option that was taken was to provide for an encroachment agreement. That encroachment agreement, which you just approved,
So I'm going to make a motion to reimburse 50%
But-
of his.
You should let Jerry finish.
Oh, okay, I thought you were done. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
to date, I believe we have approximately half, I think it was $551 that we've encumbered to prepare this agreement.
Oh, okay.
So you're close to being half the
So I make a
reimbursement.
motion, we reimburse them $449?
At least, I mean, that doesn't include staff time, the publication that we had in the paper, the notices that we sent out to the neighbors.
Okay, so
I
there was
think you
more
were-
put into it, or that wasn't part of that 551?
No. That was only the attorney's fees.
Oh, okay.
But Dave, I think when you get down with staff time, everything else, he's gotten his $1,000 worth. Honestly, I do.
Okay, all right.
I think we're opening up a can of worms. We start giving a refund for an application for a vacate or a variance or anything else. Everybody's going to say, well, mine was denied, I want a refund, but we can't do that.
I agree.
I'll move to deny the request.
I second that.
Okay, I guess I just want to make a comment about this, is that if he would have come up with the dilemma that he was in and he was given the advice that this is the way it should go, we probably would have avoided that stuff. So I guess what I'm saying is if we can avoid that in the future, it'd be a good thing for the citizens, you know?
So are you saying that the planning and zoning person out there can say, it's not going to go, don't apply?
Well, or if there's
I
an
mean,
alternate
do you
way
want them
do
to
it.
take that on?
Or if there's an alternate way. Jerry, did you have something?
I came into this at the, kind of the end, but I spent enough time with the gentleman to understand that this was not something that is a very easy issue to deal with. There's a pre-existing condition here, there's an encroachment, part of his building is on city property. He's been in front of the planning commission in the past seeking a variance. He's, I think, again, going to try and seek a variance to add on to his building. I don't think we've actually asked the city attorney if in fact a variance would be in order to add on to that building, because it is a legal non-conforming use and it does not conform to our ordinance. We spend a huge amount of time on it, and I've just been here a short time and I've spent 3-4 hours on it.
It was my understanding if we gave him an encroachment agreement, that he'd be in compliance then and that he could get a permit. Maybe I misunderstood that. Maybe the attorney could enlighten us.
Yeah, my recollection is that he would still have to go through the process of applying, and then there would be considerations that would have to be made at that point.
I thought part of the agreement, he says shall not erect any other improvements on the grantor's right-of-way.
Well, he's not,
The right-of-way.
he's not asking for
But that's
it.
not on the right-of-way, what he's asking for.
Right,
Okay.
this allowed him to just apply for the variance, and then it's going to be up to the Planning and Zoning Commission to grant it.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second to deny. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Mr. Bray, let's see the fuel agreement. We'll let you do that.
Mr. Mayor and council members, thanks for having me. I'm back again to talk about the Crow Wing County Customer Fuel Sales Agreement that I presented at the last council meeting. The comments that I received, a little bit of homework for me was to figure out what happens if the tank leaks, I think was the very specific question about that. And I did a little homework on that. We looked at our insurance policy that we have for the county. And we asked Shar's help to find out what's covered under the joint maintenance facility, joint policy. I believe it's 4753 that we pay the premiums. And I think the short answer is insurance covers it, but we didn't find a definitive answer. And when I was talking to our attorney about that and trying to figure it out on our end, she reminded me that this is a fuel agreement. It's agreeing to be our customer at a certain cost and then the administration of it, not liability. And so she didn't believe that this was the appropriate agreement for that.
We never approved the joint facilities agreement because we were waiting for the fuel tank issue, right?
No, I believe that you passed the other
It was?
two, all the other
Oh, so we thought it was
resolutions.
under this agreement that we were
Right,
going
this
to,
was a separate
This was the
agreement,
full one, yeah.
and it was just that one question was what happens with the fuel leak. So recently, you received some comments. Shar handed out some notes from the city attorney, and the first thing I noticed is that he agreed an old version. We incorporated, we already had a round of incorporating his comments in the current version that was in your packet last time and is in your packet now, or should be in your packet now, has the changes that he highlights in red in your packet, email that Shar handed out, with one exception that I noticed in the 5 minutes I had to look through
Yeah,
it.
right.
And that's paragraph 3. I'm sorry, yeah, paragraph 3 in damages, and I think in his email note, he highlights that as his biggest concern, the damages portion of the agreement. And certainly he can respond, but in my 5 minutes I was looking at it, it looks like his blue language in paragraph 3 under damages says the same thing that the black language does, just in a different way. And in the black portion, it says that it says that the customer shall be essentially responsible for damage that's caused by their own employees, including mowers and things like that. And in looking at the blue suggested language, he talks about mentioning other customers as well. And
we just said it a different way, only you. If your people that work for the city damage it, you're responsible. And he's saying everybody but the city. And to me, it seems like it's the same thing, just said a little bit different way. And certainly, he's on my end.
Jordan, what do you got to say about this?
Yeah, and from the last meeting, the direction to us was to review and propose some revisions in order to provide some more clarity about potential liability concerns. And so that's what that language does. It does seek to clarify. So my thought was we can pass that over to the county, see what their response is. But the language that we included does just that. It tries to add some more clarity to the situation of, well, what if there is something that happens? And frankly, it could go in this agreement. It could have gone in the prior agreement if there is this question about who has potential responsibility. I mean, it is reassuring to hear, that at least on initial read, it looks like it's just restating what, maybe was already the expectation. But in a situation like this where there are, certain liabilities in play, I think more clarity is better in a situation like this.
I don't mean to make a big deal out of it, but it's the recovery fund that if a tank leaks and it's in the ground, you got to dig it up and do that. That's where my concern was.
Yeah, and I am not familiar with that. We had a little conversation before here that I've heard of
Yeah.
it before, and I don't know how it applies or how it covers previous owners of sites and things like that. I've been advised that this is just simply agreeing to buy fuel from us.
So this is a separate agreement, but I would like to look into that long-term insurance liability portion of it.
I agree. I think we discovered that there's probably something to figure out with who, if it is insurance, whose insurance is it? I think when we looked at our county insurance, it only had a rider for the contents of the building. That was ours. And so the building one that we have for that whole site that we're paying our share of should be covering something with that. I've also heard that these insurance policies don't cover anything below ground, and we need to figure out what that
So-
means exactly.
This is an agreement that we're going to agree to just to keep doing gas like we're doing fuel.
That's what was pointed out to me, and I can understand getting some of those in here, but it didn't seem, at least to our attorney, that it was the appropriate place for that.
Okay.
And we don't have to, in light of these recommendations from your county attorney that are at least that one paragraph that's different, you don't have to act tonight. We can go back and take a look at that and come back at another time.
Well, I think we could act on this tonight.
Well, the language, there's a different wording for paragraph 3, and he didn't say, okay, just do it the way he did it. He said, hey, do it my way. And that's okay, but just, if we need extra time to iron that out between the attorneys,
Would
there's time.
you just soon take that back to your attorney and have him look at it
If that's what you're
and
comfortable with.
wait till next month?
If that's what you're comfortable with. We've had this unwritten handshake agreement for many years, and
It sounds like
another
you'd be a
month.
little more comfortable with that too, just running it through the channels.
Sure, and they'll give us some more time to maybe get some answers on the insurance stuff.
So that we would maybe change that joint maintenance facility agreement to work with the insurance company, saying whose insurance company is going to take care of it? Are we, your fuel system, your insurance company? We damage something, our insurance company?
I think it's a joint policy that we're jointly paying.
Oh, I
it's not
thought you were
your-
under Minnesota counties or something, or
Well,
we're
we
under the
are,
League of
but-
Minnesota
But we're
Cities.
insuring the contents of the building, so what's in there. But if
Oh.
it happens to the building and the site, I believe, this is something we have to look into, I guess. If the insurance that you have on that building, maybe even the wastewater treatment center is under that same thing, I don't know how we deal with it, but. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I just think we should review it all.
Okay. So you
So
want me to
let's
go?
just pause on it and,
Let's
Okay.
put it on the agenda for next month.
Okay, that sounds good.
thanks,
That's all I had
Tim.
then. All right.
Thank you.
So we need to formally table, is that what I'm?
Putting it on the
Okay,
agenda.
I'll make a motion, we table it till next month.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Do we want to direct somebody to look into the insurance on the buildings, or Jordan and Jerry, do you guys want to look into that?
We certainly can.
I think it'd be appropriate because the city actually owns the
I
property.
just to review, I mean, we should do that, I would think, so. Yeah, okay. Okay. Ordinance amended 386 short-term home rental licensing. So this is our agreement with the county.
Correct, and this is just a formality. You guys approved it in November.
Yep.
It wasn't put in our format. This is our format of it. It's just a formality to approve it. We're already running with it.
And this is
anybody-
just solidifying what we are doing this calendar year. I'll move we approve as submitted.
Did it change? Didn't we, didn't their ordinance have in there about if someone got caught and didn't have a license? Wasn't there fines for that?
Here.
Is it in there? How come I don't see it? That was false reporting. Maybe that's the same thing. That was false reporting.
Yeah,
If you're looking at section 2311B, that's false reporting. I was talking about if,
I saw something.
if they were found not to have a license and they were operating.
first of all, we either need a second or I need to withdraw the motion
I'll second.
Okay.
so we can have the discussion.
Where did I see
That was my discussion. I think it was changed, because wasn't that the big, that was
This
the
is
big.
exactly what you approved in November, so there was no changes. This is
We
the county's
approved going with the
ordinance.
county.
Yeah.
I don't know that, but this is a different ordinance than the previous year because there was that $1,000. So that was changed. And did we have this ordinance in front of us in November? Oh, then we missed it.
to find where I saw that.
We still have our penalties in place. The county doesn't have penalties. We do.
So we have a separate ordinance for that.
No, we have penalties
And where are those penalties cited?
on our fee schedule.
On the fee schedule?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, are we good?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure it was there.
All in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carries, all in favor. Peter?
Peter Graves, 14131 Sugarloaf Road. I want to thank the council first for adding this to your agenda tonight at the last minute. I just wanted to get this in front of the city council for your review and hopeful approval. What we are trying to do for the addition to the pickleball courts is, in our fundraising, at some point in time, be able to give recognition to those that have given a significant contribution towards those courts. But as a secondary purpose, we'd like to use that as maybe a motivator, an influencer to encourage additional contributions, or for somebody maybe to shift their category that it falls under. And so we have come up with this as simply a prototype. I don't know if you can pull that up. Of how we would be recognizing people that have made a contribution. And I want to make sure that we would go back to each individual that could potentially appear on here and get their approval, their willingness to have their names listed or listed in a different manner. And if they don't, we would just simply list it as anonymous. And the only names that you're seeing there are actually the pickleboard board members that have made a contribution. We do have contributions that fall into each of those categories that are listed anonymously, but until we get approval from council.
So is this going to be a plaque down by the courts?
It'll
that
be
you're
a
gonna
plaque
put?
on the courts or near the courts once it's done. And I just wanted to share, this is Same type of format that we used when we did the dog park several years back. At the end of that, we have a plaque at the dog park that recognizes the people in the various categories of contributions, showing that they were supportive of this project. So I'm using that as kind of my format for this, but before we go further with that, I want to make sure that the council's aware of it and comfortable with that.
So just a question, Peter, if this is going to be hanging up at the courts, and you're going to try to do this to promote more people, so are you going to have lots of lines that are blank down below it?
We'll be shifting it around to make it fit appropriate.
I mean,
As said-
that'll tell a tale if you do.
Yeah, well, you can see on this one, there were a lot of contributions at the 100, 249 level, and so we simply made that fit there and then adjusted as we went to the categories. So it would be, this is a prototype, this is just something again for you to look at and be able to react to. But it would be that same type of process that we would use.
Well, Peter, would you bring us a final, template of what it?
Yes, absolutely. And just to let the council know, we have already to date through the end of February, PAL has $21,185 in their accounts for this purpose, and we have some pledges that go beyond that we should be getting in the next month or two.
Okay, good. So are you looking for a motion?
A motion
to move
to-
this?
To approve this.
I move to approve a pickleball donor plaque at the pickleball court.
In dog park.
And, well, the dog park's already there, I think.
The dog park already exists. I was just using that as an example for you.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Okay, Jerry.
In your package, you have two proposals to provide recruitment services for a city administrator. We received a proposal from Bladek, and we also received a proposal from David Drown and Associates. The David Drown proposal is a little bit lengthier than the Bladek proposal, and I might point out that there are a few differences in the two proposals, but basically they're providing the same type of services. It's just a little bit different, maybe some nuances in one proposal versus the other. The differences basically are the David Drown proposal does they do a lot of personality indexing, psychological evaluations prior to the interview process. They also have a video interview service that's done prior to the formal interview process. And there's also a cost difference that's approximately $6,000.
Which one's higher?
Pardon?
The Drown's higher.
Drown is 24,000, and the Bladek proposal is 15% of the first year's salary, which we anticipate is going to be around $18,000.
Okay.
Another major difference I saw was the guarantee on the employment.
Yeah,
And
sorry, I forgot to mention that there also is a 2-year guarantee that if you hire somebody with the Drown proposal and it does not work out, within 2 years, they do the service over again. But those are the major differences.
Only with the David Drown
Yes.
proposal, that's in there.
Well, I think the Bladek offers a 6-week guarantee, and I'm wondering, I think there's someone here from Bladek who might want to speak to this, but would there be room for, discussion regarding, the length of time that you would guarantee someone that we hired?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Tyler Glenn, Executive Director of the Brainerd Lakes Area Economic Development Corporation, Bladek, 24180 Aspen Drive, Mayor. I live in Nisswa, though, sorry.
That's all right, that's all right.
So Councilman Farber and I talked earlier today. We'd of course make some adjustments to that if it was a sticking point for the council. As you can imagine, going out to 2 years, is a pretty significant amount of time. We've hired, so Mike Bierkness runs our recruitment program. He's been running this for Bladek for 8 years now. He's been in the recruitment business for, probably 16 years. He's hired over 100 people to management level positions and up in Crow Wing County, and we only work in Crow Wing County. So he's been very successful with this program. We will make adjustments based on conversations we would have with you regarding length of time that we'd guarantee the hire. Our goal with this as always is that if the 5 of you meet and are in consensus with the person you're hiring, you'd certainly hope they stay longer than 2 years or whatever the case may be. The guarantee's nice, it is, but they are also a pretty large company that has the deep enough pockets to be able to pull something like that off. But talking about psychological evaluations and doing things like this, we have Mike runs has extensive conversations with everybody in this pool. If he gets a resume, he's talking to them. He's interviewing them personally before he even puts a list together for you guys to consider. So
At what point does Mike come and interview us?
he will do that. He's gone this week. That's the only reason
but I
he's
mean,
not here
that's-
tonight. Absolutely. Yep. It's part of the process. He wants to get to know all of you and understand where you're at with regards to this hire, because this is a very significant hire for the city.
Yep.
Very significant. I will say that, we're comfortable with whatever direction you guys decide to go. We were contacted and thought this was the right decision for us to be able to sit down in front of you and put an offer together. We work with you, we work for you, so we're
I got a
willing
question, Tyler, on line 7 here. It said, should the client fail to notify Bladek within 14 calendar days of the candidate's first day of employment, a fee becomes payable of 40% of the anticipated first year's total compensation. So is that a penalty for not?
If you've hired them and you fire them within 14 days, that's basically what that's saying. So we're saying is that if you've gone through all of your necessary steps, if we've gone through the process, the work has been done, we've presented the candidate for you to hire, and you've hired them, and then within 14 days the city decides to let them go, we would be compensated for our time.
But aren't you already compensated at 15%? And then this 40% would go on top of that?
Oh, no, that's probably, I don't do this.
Isn't
so I
that
don't
what
read
it
this.
says?
Yeah, I think so. You'd have to let me read it again, but
Hopefully we wouldn't.
Well, what
Yeah.
it says is it's due and payable within, the 15% is due and payable within 7 days. And now this is out 14 days.
yeah, we'd
It
make the
just-
adjustments
Yeah,
accordingly.
there would need to
Yep.
be adjustments
Yes,
in there.
I just
absolutely.
read that and it struck me.
Yeah, I get it.
Hopefully 7 doesn't come into
And
play.
I've been in the principal's office before, so I know all about those penalties.
No, I get that. Get-
I-
go ahead.
I think, one advantage about having someone local, this is just up for discussion, but that, you have the ability to escort potential candidates into the area, show them around.
The reason this program is, and I will expand on that, the reason that Mike's program has been as successful as it has is because of that very reason. He lives here, he's been here his entire life, he knows this area. It's a very hands-on approach to recruitment. So when we bring in, if you are to bring in 3 candidates or 5 candidates, or whatever the case may be, wherever they're coming from, we're gonna take them throughout the area, we're gonna show them what what this area has to offer. You guys don't have to do that, we do that for you. We can speak directly to the services we can speak directly to the city, we can speak directly to this region, and everything that it has to offer for someone. It's a concierge type service, it really is. And, we spend a lot of time, Mike spends a ton of time doing this work and has been very, very successful with it. But the reason that he's successful is, and I mean, David Drown, these folks are from the Minneapolis area, and they certainly have a understanding of the state as it exists, but we have a very, very real perspective on what goes on in Crow Wing County. He enjoys the work. He's very good at it. We've had numerous organizations, economic development organizations and others that have asked us to give them the keys to this particular car, and we will hand it over all day, but they don't have Mike. So that's the biggest difference. So, and yes, Mayor, to your point of Mike coming and meeting you and interviewing all of you, absolutely. I know all of you, but he doesn't know that all of you as well as I do.
Well, and I certainly don't mean me specifically, but the group, the staff, everybody.
Yeah, and Mike and I came and met with Jerry and with Shar last week, 2 weeks ago, just to walk them through this process, let them ask him any questions that they had, and then for him to fill them in on, what the program does and how it works through our office. But we'd be happy to do it, but if you choose to go the other direction, we're gonna help as well. So whatever we can do to make sure that you get the right person here is the primary objective for us.
Thank you, Tyler.
Any other questions?
Do you have
for me?
anything you want to add to that, Jerry?
No. We will make adjustments as according, as after conversations, if you want longer guarantees, we will certainly have those conversations with you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Maybe there is just a tad. I did meet with Tyler and Mike and Shard. We spent a considerable amount of time on the first occasion talking about the process itself and getting to know what you're looking for specifically and how that initial investigation is very important to the process. It's probably the most important part of the process.
Right.
I think we've also talked a second time about the same thing again, and also how we can grow the process.
And I'm trying to ask you a very light question here, but are you comfortable with it?
Am I?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Shar, I kind of like your impression as well. Okay.
Somebody make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we go with Bladick
I second.
for recruitment for the city administrator.
Okay, any other discussion?
Oh, I'm good.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Thank you all.
Thank you, Tyler, for coming.
Much better than 10 o'clock, 10:15 before.
Yeah.
Well, we're trying to get there.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Well, Jerry, this is you too, I guess, huh?
Item EB, or no?
E2.
Two.
Change
two.
to the code. So do you want me to take this? Mike Stone has come to the city. They're part of the old Goodwill building. And apparently there's a ordinance that says you can't sell liquor, anything within 300 feet of the church. So my take on this, and Jonathan came up, I think this is what you were talking about, Jonathan? And I take that, but there's also a letter from the church saying we certainly don't have any objection to this, so. I don't see any objection other than maybe we should look at a conditional use.
I have never heard that you can do a conditional use with a liquor license, but that might be a question for Jordan.
Jordan, are you still there?
I am. Yes, and off the cuff, this is one of those that I want to dig into a little bit before I just give you any kind of, off the cuff advice. So I can certainly do that. If you want to look at kind of a case by case basis or see what kind of alternative there is. I mean, it seems like it'd be an option to, amend the statute, amend the ordinance in a way that gives, some option here. But again, I can take a look and report back on that.
I can't really think currently of another place in town that would fall into this category.
I was under the impression that this was a rather antiquated ordinance that was, initiated I don't know, around Prohibition or something, and I don't know if it's,
Not really.
and as long as the church is,
No,
Yeah.
not really.
Come on
What
up.
it is
Mo-
once you,
Most small communities will have that on their ordinance, in their code, not to build within 300 feet of a church or a school.
Yeah, and I think that's the situation is, this is a specific building that's close enough in this particular case. But if you remove the ordinance, it allows someone to come into, you've got a lot of land out by the Catholic Church. Build a huge complex. Yes, they have to come to you for a liquor license, but if you've taken away the 300 feet, you've actually opened it up to allow that to happen. So that's more the case. It's future cases, and that's why I'm thinking there should be a way to do a conditional use, because you're just asking for amending one ordinance. It's not specific to a liquor license. It's more of a part of the whole, where a building can be with.
I think it's it's liquor license.
one of the problems I've got, and come on up, Mike. One of the problems I've got is once you take something away, they can walk into that building and they can start selling gummies, marijuana. Tell me what would prevent them? What would prevent it? And I'm not saying Mike would ever do it, but he might sell the building.
They can do that anyway.
You have to be careful too, because if you're going to do it case by case basis, you're going to have to legitimately explain to the next person.
Why they
If you're
can't.
going to deny them,
Yeah.
you've already set a precedent saying
But it's,
they got it.
and it's not
can't.
just what you would be selling today. It's when somebody buys it from you and what they decide to also sell.
but this is just about regarding liquor.
So that's not how the world works. It's not how the world turns.
Well, it's specifically beer and wine.
Michael Stone, 12979 Red Oak Circle. That specific law only deals with alcohol, so there's
Yeah.
nothing to do with gummies or any other products. So it's specifically, and it's structure to structure. So had this been the old Lutheran church many years ago, the old deer stand building, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But this ordinance is such that it's very variable, so like what's considered a church? If somebody has services in their house, is that considered churches move, like all of a sudden then the Lutheran church is like right on the property line? If, as I understand it, liquor licenses are issued every year, correct? Shar?
They're renewed every year.
Renewed every year, right? So if in the year span a church builds and they're within 300 feet of a pre-existing establishment, there's nothing that says you're grandfathered in. You just wouldn't be able to get your liquor license the next year because you're within 300 feet. So it's very ambiguous ordinance at best. And I mean, we just want to run a wholesome recreational operation. Another alternative, you could either get rid of the whole ordinance or potentially, and this would help us out in our specific instance here, is like the city of Brainerd, the city of Nisswa, they have a 300-foot walking route from the main entrance of the place of worship to the main entrance of the establishment. Cross Lake has no such language in their ordinance about that. So if you did the walking route, it would be well over 500 feet. So that would be an option before you too, to kind of keep the spirit alive of what the ordinance is now, but also make it such that it's not point to point from structure to structure the way the ordinance reads as it is. So that's just, that is some compromise. If you wanted to keep that ordinance on the books, that's something to discuss maybe. So
I'd be more interested in that. I'm going to be real frank about it. Okay.
I think Jordan heard you, and if the general consensus of the city council is to change it to walking, I guess do your magic.
Jordan, go ahead.
Got it.
Is that doable, Jordan, just to change the language as far as walking as opposed to the distance between the buildings?
So you'd be amending to redefine, that amount of, that proximity. But yeah, that's an amendment that could be made.
Okay.
Well, I move that we amend the ordinance.
Well, I think we should table it until the next meeting when he takes a look at whether you can do a conditional use permit or variance or whatever, or if the walking thing is viable. And since you don't have a definite answer for us, it would be good if you checked into it before we pass it.
Okay, go ahead, Jerry.
Actually, there's two parts to this. There's the ordinance that says you can't have liquor within 500 feet of a church. That's the liquor ordinance itself. The zoning ordinance has a section whereby liquor on and off sale is a conditional use permit already. So in order to apply for a liquor license at that location, he also has to apply for a conditional use permit. It's very similar to the situation with the self-pour pub. That was a conditional use to allow the self-pour at that location, which was a commercial location.
But Jerry, if we change the language from, front door to front door, would you still need a conditional use permit?
In order to change that part, you have to change the ordinance, the liquor ordinance itself.
Right.
But it still is a conditional use also. So
You're going to need the conditional use.
you're going to need a conditional use no matter what.
For strong beer wine, is that true?
I'm
That's all
not
they're
planning
selling?
and zoning, I don't know.
That's all they're serving at the self-service place near you.
Okay, so,
And they went through that process just this past month.
okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to knock down one hurdle at a time, so.
I hear you. But I'm still comfortable with changing the ordinance. Okay? So that it goes front door to front door to avoid the secondary, what you're talking about.
And then, that also provide, a means of, a little bit of a buffer around the.
Now, I have another question. Do we have a liquor license available for that?
Yes, this is a beer wine license.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Mike. So somebody make a motion to change the ordinance? And then it'll be up to Mr. Stone to come in.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I got interrupted.
Yeah. I move that we change the ordinance, the language of the ordinance to state that it's from front door to front door as opposed to the distance between the buildings.
Second.
Okay, and I believe, Jordan, you're going to be part of that change, correct? And you understand what we're trying to do?
Yes.
Okay,
Just one clarification too, when it's a walking route,
Walking
front
route,
door
yeah.
to
Yep.
front door, not just pointed distance from front door to
Right.
front door. Thank you.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Then what, you're next on here again.
Thanks for getting that.
Is this both of them? Are we done with Mike?
The service
The
contracts
fire service contracts.
is next. E3.
These are the same amounts, it's new tax capacity dollars, same 3.5% that we use every year to determine that. These have gone to the townships, and they have approved them already.
No, they have, and there is an increase, I see, of whatever, so it looks good to me.
Yep.
I'll make a motion, we approve the 2024-25 fire service contracts with Manhattan Beach and Fairfield Township.
Second,
My second.
discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. So the prices, this doesn't need anything, this is just for information, huh?
Right.
The management plan is for your information only. let you know that there is a plan out there, and,
Yep,
and
looks good.
if something should happen, this is what we're going to be using.
Okay. Chief Meyer, you're next.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. First thing I'd like to talk about is we have, with the purchase of our new radios that we put in the squad cars and then the ones we wear on our person, that leaves us with 4 portable radios and 6 squad radios. They're really not worth a ton of money, and they're just sitting around collecting dust. So what I'm asking you guys to do is declare those radios surplus. And then I know in my memo, it was kind of too late to fix it, but I asked that you donate them to the Backus Fire Department, which is in need of some newer radios. I guess the only thing I asked that we change is instead of donating them for nothing at all, that we just request that they pay us a fee that covers any costs associated with transferring the radios from one department to the other. We gotta have them kind of wiped clean first to get rid of like our law enforcement encrypted part of it. And then it's going to a different county too, so they'll have different channels and whatnot. So basically donate them for whatever it costs just to get them to
Charge them
that
the
point.
cost of the transaction.
Correct. Yeah, just to, yeah, any, so there'll be probably maybe some labor costs involved with getting them to where they need to go for, or shipping costs or something like that, and to get them wipe free. And then, once they're clean, then Backus can bring them to wherever they want and have them reprogrammed.
Have you checked with Backus? Are they willing to pay the cost of cleaning them?
No, we haven't talked a cost, but they were willing to, they need them and they were willing to purchase them from us, but according to Chip, he said the old radios, they're not worth a lot of money. So so they don't go to waste, give them to a department that could use them.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I move to donate the radios, if they cover the cost of the, process.
Perfect.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries.
Thank you. Now, the second part is, in the last year, we had 4 part-time officers. None of them really work that much anymore. They were just kind of still on our roster, but we're down to 1. And I guess what I'm asking is a lot of these guys don't need this money, and right now we're paying them $25 an hour to come and cover a shift, so we make sure we have an officer here in town. What I'm asking is to raise that part-time wage from $25 an hour to $30 an hour, just to make it more enticing for him to maybe pick up a shift in those rare times when all else fails. We kind of had a scare this week alone with an injury, and we really had to scramble to kind of get things covered. And the way it's been to recruit police officers, this might just be one way to get him to step in. There's 1 or 2 times a year where it would be nice that as a department we can do training where somebody is not on duty having to listen to their radio, and in the middle of training they might have to go. And
So how many hours a month are you talking?
0 mostly. I mean,
And in the summer, don't you pick up more part-time people?
we used to, but they're just not there anymore.
So you don't?
They're just
So
not.
this is it?
There's nothing available. So I'm just asking, it might just make it more enticing if I call him and say, hey, can you cover a shift tonight?
Yeah.
It's not a lot. We probably won't use them more than, I don't know how much more this would change his mind, but lately we haven't had him work more than 1 or 2 shifts a year. So it really.
Is he gonna work St. Patrick's Day?
He's working for another department, but I think he'll be up in this area kind of helping us out, so.
Well, I think a $5 an hour increase for a couple times a year will help you cover a need.
And if you think,
I think,
yeah, and I mean, you think about maybe a 10-hour shift, that's only $50, but it might actually get them here a couple more shifts throughout the year. And so you're talking a few extra $100 a year maybe to get them to work a little bit more.
I make a motion, we approve the increase.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
before you leave, I believe at our safety services meeting, there was a discussion on bonfires.
On bonfires?
Yeah,
Yep, that's for the fire chief.
he's not here. He's not here, so you get to see.
You want me to talk a little bit about fire safety?
No, not fire safety. I'm talking about specifically
All
bonfires.
fires.
Okay. Well, right now, as you guys can all imagine, it's pretty dry out there, and around the county, especially in the last couple of weeks, there's been quite a bit of fires popping up. And I think Chip would say the same thing. Right now, every day before you burn, you got to have a permit, and right now, permits are, it changes from day to day, so you got to go online and look to see what the DNR website says for Crow Wing County, whether you can get a permit. And those permits are only good, after between 6 p.m. and 8 a.m., I believe, early hours.
Chip said that they were all denied. There were no permits anymore.
I can't believe we're giving.
No, they're good. Well, if you look on the day, it updates daily on the DNR website, and it changes from day to day. So
It does.
the fire, it shows, there's 2 maps, and it shows every county, and they're color coded, and it'll show Crow Wing County, what level of fire danger we're at, and then what kind of permits are required, or no permits at all, and it's pretty easy to understand. So if people just pay attention to that beforehand, but there are a lot of people that just go out there and light up a pile at noon on a really windy day, and then we're gonna have trouble, so. And we are going to deal with that. Pretty much, I think Chip and I have agreed that anybody that starts a bonfire illegally is gonna be cited for it, because it could wipe out a whole neighborhood, a whole city, so.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. Thank you, Council.
Okay, TJ?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have 2 items for you tonight. The first one, item 2A, is to approve the Program and Facilities Coordinator job description. And just a little background there. Before Jane retired, I was able to sit down with her and kind of walk through everything that she used to do in this position. So before she was the manager of the building, this was her position. So we went through and really in detail covered as much as we could what she did in that role. And that's what you have in front of you. Along with that, I would like to discuss what we would like to advertise for this opening. When we were unable to find the candidate a couple months back, we discussed possibly, instead of advertising for 1 through 6, to advertise step 1 through 10. And that would be step 1 is 2036 and step 10 is 2659. Not to say we have to hire at step 10, but just to get a good candidate pool to interview.
Well, if you find someone that can fulfill all these, all these duties that you've delineated here, I think they'd probably be, worth that, so.
So make the motion.
So is she an ask me?
This would
Is
be
that
an
right?
ask me, correct?
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I move that we approve this job description and allowing you to advertise through steps 1 through 10.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Second item there is to talk about the employee that's really covering the front desk right now. Michelle is going above and beyond certainly what a part-timer is expected to do. She is preparing documents. She's working with some of her programming. She's filling that role, and she's really kind of saving my rear end, helping me out, getting my job done. So what I am proposing is retroactive to February 22nd. We would move her from $17 an hour to $21, and obviously this would end once we have a new person on board. And if you don't know Michelle, she is pretty much the face of the community center, and she's really a valued staff person, and I couldn't, I don't know how I would still do my job without that help, so.
I'll make a motion that we increase her wage from $17 to $21 an hour until we get that position filled.
I second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I have, thank you.
Thanks, TJ. TJ, what is this park dedication fees increase? What's F3A? Isn't that you?
Planning and zoning.
Oh, okay. Planning and zoning.
I will touch base on that, though. The park dedication fee, we had discussed that increase, possibly. I forgot to add that in the agenda, but the park commission talked about it a little bit more, and we're gonna keep it at the 1,500.
Good, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Paul,
Oh,
the spotlight is on you.
I'll do it.
I think Jerry's going to take this one for me.
Okay.
It might be the last one I have to do.
Paul, you've been here for 2 days, come on.
The first item that you have is a recommendation from the Planning Commission that we raise the fees for variances. And the current fee for a variance is $750, and that, under today's rules, we would charge $750, and if there were one variance that was needed, or if there were 10 variances that were needed on that parcel. This proposal is to charge $750 for the first 5, or for up to 5. Anything over 5 would be $300
Per item?
per variance after 5.
And what is the most that somebody's come up with?
11.
13?
11, just 5 months ago.
Yeah, so I mean, there are people that come in for a lot, so.
There was,
He done that, and he didn't have to do that, he moved his house back and he didn't need a variance, that's what he did. So he wasted our time.
So it's that's good.
I'll make a motion that we approve changing the variance fee of $750
The
for,
whole fee schedule, I think, Marcia, right?
oh, we're doing the whole fee. No, I think it's just the red. I think, I'm wrong, maybe.
Approve the fee schedule
I'm
except
right,
for that, I
okay.
think, yeah.
Okay. The variance for residential and commercial from, keep $750 for the first 5 and $300 for each additional variance requested.
second.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
The next item is another recommendation from the Planning Commission to the City Council. Currently, and it deals with accessory structures and the size of accessory structures. Currently, an accessory structure is basically permitted based on the size of the lot. If it's under 2 acres or it's over 2 acres, the proposed change is that any accessory structure that is being proposed for commercial uses be a conditional use permit, and any accessory structure that is proposed for residential that's over 1,200 square feet is a conditional use permit also. So most of the accessory structures are going to be conditional uses if the council so chooses to pass these amendments.
And previously, it was a permit with performance standards.
Yes.
Right.
This is recommended from the Planning and Zoning Commission. So I would make a motion that we approve changing the residential accessory structures less than 1,200 will require a conditional use. Accessory structures over 1,200, a conditional use permit, and the storage buildings, commercial, also are required to have a conditional use permit.
And then there's also
Yeah, I'm going to get that.
Any size on the storage buildings?
Nope,
An 8 by 12?
nope,
Doesn't matter.
it's just storage buildings,
stays the
commercial.
same, it's just the permit.
If it's a
Oh, it's a condition,
conditional
they have
use,
to have a conditional use permit now.
but that
yeah.
does it give us a little more leeway as far as what we approve? If it's a conditional use?
Gives us more restriction.
Right, exactly.
But also, go ahead, Jerry.
Typically, a conditional use is a use that's allowed in a district with conditions.
Right.
It could be color, it could be size, it could be setback, or it could be even height that you could stipulate. I think the intent here is to evaluate each one on its own merits and see how it fits in the neighborhood more than what is being done today. There's also a example on the second sheet. It's a clarification of how we determine height on buildings, and we would also ask that that modification be part of your deliberation.
Marcia, you had a motion, so we need a second.
I did.
Oh, yeah. So,
I thought I did.
Yeah, I made the motion for
I
all
seconded
that.
it.
Okay, one more question I have on this. Does this matter if it's 40 acres or any lot at all?
Any lots at all?
Correct.
So there's no, a 40-acre lot, 1,200 square foot, you need a conditional use?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Carries, all in favor.
Now, Jerry, does this have to be, this has to be advertised for 30 days as well?
We need to go through the process
Yeah.
and get it fine-tuned as far as publication and notice of hearing and that type of thing.
Did you want to do another motion for that second part of the,
for the height standard or the
Yeah.
question of the height?
What was the change in the height standard? I didn't see
I
that.
don't think it was.
Is delineated is what was changed. Because what they're doing is they're getting very creative on how they determine where their walls and so forth fall, so they can adjust the height to their need.
I guess I don't really know how to make that motion.
Is it just
I
a
don't know
clarification
what
or
you're
is it a
talking about.
change?
It's a clarification.
Basically, what was in there before was just language that height was determined by the midpoint of the roof. This example we're trying to put it into the ordinance so that it's definitive and people can look at that and determine how height is determined.
So just this diagram is the height? That's all you're
The
adding to it?
diagram was not in the original ordinance. This
Yeah.
is something that's proposed to be added.
Okay.
You need a proposal to add the diagram to the, or, okay.
That'll work.
I move to add the diagram.
Okay.
Go ahead, Marcia.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Public Works. Who's taking that?
All right, first one was the Public Works Commission recommended that we look at the proposal for Melinda Shore Bridge, the wall rings, the wall repairs. We have the money in the budget, but we need to have you guys act on it so we can have Bolton Mink proceed with it so we can get some bids and get the repairs done yet this year.
Is it a major repair?
Yeah, it's about 100,000, then we figure, Phil.
Oh.
Because the wooden wall, retaining walls that we have are rotted. You can move them around right now, so.
Well, it's,
If it ain't done this year, it's gotta be done next year, and we got the money in the budget this year for it.
well, I move that we, approve this work to be done by Bolton Mink.
I'll second it, but I've got a question that goes with it. There's two of them here, two separate ones. And one shows that it's for just under 20,000, and the other one shows that it's just about 39.3. Are we lumping these two together?
No, we'll do them separately. The Melinda Shores is the one that you're.
Okay, so it's just this one. Because he's saying 100,000, and I'm seeing 19,000.
Estimated cost for the wind wall replacement.
Okay, but,
Budget about 100 to 125,000.
Yeah.
okay. But how
Okay,
much
so
are we
got a motion
approving
second. Are you
tonight?
good with that, Char?
The engineering.
All in favor?
wait,
Oh, go ahead, Phil. Come on.
So what you're approving is us to do the engineering, so that we can
Okay,
put
so it's
together a
just the
plan. So the
19,670.
city can go out and get contractors to bid on it and then do the work.
I'm hearing two different numbers, and that's why I'm asking.
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead, Dave.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries.
And the next one is for the engineering services for Harbor Lane. That's kind of started and stopped several times, and we'd like to see if you guys want to move forward with that. And we're also going to tie it in with Mike O'Connell with the bike trail and everything else that's going in there.
Do we have the right-of-way? I think before we can start a project, we have to have
So
the right-of-way
that's what
in
the
place.
that's what the past work was to talk with property owners. There's 5 property owners. The city has a road that goes without any easement. So what we've done just in the past is we've talked with these property owners, and 4 out of 5 of them expressed a willingness to work with the city on providing the right amount of right-of-way, including an off-road trail in that right-of-way. So that's as much as we were basically retained to do previously. So the next step is to hammer out that right-of-way, to acquire that right-of-way, to put together the preliminary engineering report, and then have your improvement hearing. And if you want to go beyond that, the Public Works recommended you only do the field services, which is a survey of the wetland delineation, do the preliminary engineering, market benefit appraisal, in which case I think you're going to have to lay out with the property owners what you're proposing to get from them. And that is a whole discussion. They might want compensation or an offset of a potential assessment based on city policy. And then the third thing then is to do the engineering so you have construction plans. The Public Works didn't want to go all the way to the engineering plans. They felt like getting to the feasibility report, having the improvement hearing, getting the public input was as far as they were recommending to go.
And that makes sense.
It does.
We'll have everything we need at
Right.
that point. So, yeah, let's do, is there a motion on this? Did somebody make a motion to approve? So let's just do the field service and the preliminary engineering and market benefit.
I agree.
Is that your motion?
No, I'm not making it, but somebody do it.
Oh, okay, I move that we approve the field services and the preliminary engineering costs
I'll second that.
Market benefit.
and market benefit. It's included in there, yeah.
Motion a second, discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carries. The only thing I want to mention to you, and we talked about it before, but IDL Township is
Right.
very interested in moving this all the way down.
Yep. And like I told you, this is only for the city's portion because Harbor Lane, as it parallels the lake, about halfway, it becomes City of Cross Lake, and then it becomes Ideal Township. So we're only reviewing it for you. We understand we can go talk to the township during this process and partner with them, but to do the trail the rest of the way, they would either hire their engineer or we would give them a
So
proposal.
there's separate deals.
It could be, or they
Yeah.
could retain us. Like I've told you in the past, we've talked with Dave too, and he's been consistent all along that they're interested in continuation of that trail.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
But we haven't looked onto what that would take. We've only looked at what it takes.
I just
in the
think if
city
if
of
it's a
Cross
bigger
Lake.
project and you can work together and maybe
Right,
save some
yep.
money or whatever.
Yep.
Do the property owners want a trail there? I mean, are they willing
You know,
to?
No one was completely against it. I would say that we had really positive from two. We had, well, I don't want a trail closer to my residence, but I understand there's value in getting the trail and pedestrian and bike traffic off of that road because it turns really sharp. And honestly, the fifth property, we haven't been able to, we have just, if you've driven it.
Is that
there's-
Arvig?
Yeah, we just haven't been able to connect with them at all. And that's kind of the area where you first come off of 16 and then there's a drop in a wetland. For us to get an easement, we would have to kind of formalize that, hey, we're going past that wetland, and that's the corner of their property. But Kavanaugh, Moingen, Cripps, and then Cripps is related to the other property owner, are all, they understand what we've talked about. They've actually, Cripps has contacted me and said, so what's going on? Is this going forward? And I said, well, we kind of sidestepped it because we got into the 5-year program to try and preserve pavement, and this is just sat out there, so.
That's next year's, right? Harbor Lane, wasn't it next year's?
It wasn't included in year two's cost because there is a mill and overlay segment along the lake, but then it's a complete rebuild. It was up to the city if they wanted to include it.
Oh,
And you still
and we
can.
haven't done next year's yet.
Right. And the 5-year plan, you put your plan out there, but it's a little fluid in that you can see what you're getting for costs in the first year and how much you're getting done, and deciding if you want to stay with exactly that or add. I can tell you that right now, it seems like we anticipated with the year one mill and overlay and seal coats of being about $1 million is where we were trying to cap at. Based on I haven't seen the seal coat prices yet. They will be bid in March 21st, but the estimate the county's using, and then also the mill and overlay numbers that the county got, I think we could be about $250,000 under.
And we're piggybacking with the county on that, right?
Yes. So the economy of scale has been really good to the city.
Under? You did say under.
I said under.
Woo-hoo.
I said
You
under.
did say could.
Part of it is we had
Good and
more
under.
Daggett pine than we estimated, so we gave you, that number was high, but you're seeing, I think you're gonna be under. And you're gonna have the ability to say whether in year two you wanna get back to that amount, or maybe the pricing will be good and you'll just continue to stay under, so.
So has the federal and state government signed off on the street contract yet?
For CASA 66 and
Yeah.
the de minimis, which is required notice on the federal lands, is being published right now, should be in the newspaper. And that's a process to get everybody to sign it. So the short answer, no, not yet. We're making progress.
Oh, good.
We're waiting.
Could, under, progress. There we go.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Phil. Next one is the Pinewood Cemetery First Edition.
Just need to have your approval of the layout and everything on it.
Pat, you think it looks good?
I do.
I'll make a motion to approve the layout of the Pinewood Cemetery First Edition.
I'll second that.
Is there any place for a building for lawnmowers or anything there?
Yeah, there's still some room out there, kind of where the shed is right now.
Is
That is, we're gonna bring that up next year, budget, what we want to do with the building. This year, we're just gonna put some paint on it, make it look a little better. And
But you got adequate space for the future to do so.
Yep.
I do have a question for the attorney. Jordan, were you able to determine whether or not we need to vacate that utility easement on the cemetery?
I have not looked into that.
Okay. All right. So that might be coming back as an issue.
Okay.
I'll add some context to that.
We sent that to Jordan on Friday. so-
Okay, so, you know, our cemetery, the plat that you looked at is lot 3 and 4 of a previous plat. I think it was M&D or D&M edition, right? Which had a lot of lots in it, but lot 3 and 4. What their plat had was along the perimeter of lot 3 and on the perimeter of lot 4, it had easement and utility, like 10-foot wide easement and utility on the perimeter and then on the road out there. So then when we put a cemetery, we replat 3 and 4 into a lot of little, lots for cemetery, those easements are underlying it. And they don't really make sense anymore because it's not two big lots, it's a bunch of small lots.
Are they being used, the
Or the-
easements?
No.
Who are
no.
the easements for?
Well, they were with the original plat where they must have had a thought with these larger lots, 3 and 4, that the perimeter would be left for putting in, maybe running in utilities or drainage. But keep in mind that those lots are massive. I don't know, did you provide them D&M Probably not. You haven't seen the D
Are
and
they
M plat?
are they city utility easements, or?
They were easements with the plat at that time. So
D&M
they
plat.
gave that opportunity
Oh.
for drainage or utility, could be private utility, to be put in there. So when you overlay the cemetery on this, again, you just,
So we
my
really
opinion
need
is
to
you don't need
remove-
them. You're not gonna run drainage and utilities through people's plots.
But until we get the easement thing, we can't be really approving these lots then.
The layout is the layout. It's whether you want to get rid of those easements that are below that. And I'm telling you, well, I think you should. That original plat by D&M was a different view for what they were going to use lot 3 and 4. You've taken lot 3 and 4 and turned it into the cemetery.
So what's the first step in getting rid of the easements?
Now, I can only give you the surveyor's perspective, and
Oh.
that they gave you some language that you add to the description, and then you're getting rid of the previous easements.
What do you say, Jordan?
Yeah, this is when I'll have to follow up with Joe and get his input on that.
So we want to approve the plat, but we want to make sure the
Well,
easements are
the
gone.
layout of the plat, we can change how you want to handle those easements, but you're not changing the corners or anything of where you're platting the lots for the cemetery. That, unless you want to change that.
As long
that's
as
all
there's
set.
nothing being used there now. There's nothing there. They're just
Right,
easements.
I mean-
Vacant
We
easements.
can do a resolution to vacate those at the next
Yes,
meeting.
anytime, when you work through it. But I guess that was my point, is keeping, one, you'd want to make sure there's not any utilities running through those right now today.
I don't think there's anything there. It's
And then,
down one more lot.
Yeah.
We're sure. We need to know for sure.
I wish I
don't
had
think.
Down
the
here's where it
documents
comes
to
in
show
for the
you, because it's
shed now,
very
so-
clear when you lay it on top that you just don't want those utility easements from the past when they were going to be big lots, not little lots.
So can you give us the paperwork to get rid of that, Jordan, for the next council meeting?
I will review that, yeah. And I'll follow up with the head of the next meeting.
So are we going to go ahead with this, or are we going to table it? Go ahead with this?
I think we already did, didn't we?
Well, I think we got a motion in a second, right?
Correct.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All in favor. Now, how are we going to pay for this cemetery? Oh, I see. Okay, who's going to take this one?
Just the proposed rate increases that we've discussed before, and just need you guys to approve it, right?
I think the 500 seems kind of high for residents when you're looking compared to, the smaller communities around us. I'd rather make it 400 for residents and make it 800 for non-residents. I mean, if you look on the area comparisons of prices, I mean,
Is that a motion?
Let's
if you wanna
discuss a
discuss
little
it.
bit. Yeah, let's discuss a little bit. So in '09, a resident was 250, non-resident was 500. And where's their, what are they saying now?
well, they want to raise it here to 500 for a resident and 750 for a non-resident. I'd rather make it, only raise it up to 400 for a resident and make it 800 for a non-resident.
That's fine with me.
I second her motion.
Okay, make it a motion.
Okay, I move that we change the fees to charge $400 for a cemetery plot for a resident and 800 for a non-resident.
And you want it effective when? How about April 1st
Effective April 1st.
or whenever?
I second that. I'm good with that, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
So they're saying I have to hurry up and come in,
Yeah, we're in a public forum here. Action may or may not be taken on any issue raised. Speaker must state their name and address. Does anybody have anything? All right, Cindy. She's having a party this weekend.
I'm actually here to talk about the road construction project. After the February meeting where it was disclosed about the detours and the start June date, I have shared that information with quite a few different business owners and residents, and they're a little distraught about the whole situation, that the whole program isn't going to start till June. And I, explained to them why, and it's not the county's fault, it's the federal permitting process and those things. The problem is that there's no free newspaper anymore in Cross Lake. So unless you subscribe to the newspapers, you don't get the information. It's out there on the Facebook in a QR code, but the demographics of the town, a lot of folks don't know how to use a QR code. There's no way to get this information out to the public in a good way. I don't know if any of you have you walked into the businesses to talk about this, what's going to happen this summer? I can tell you that they're not real happy about it. And I talked to Tim about it earlier today, and I imagine these signs are going to go up on the ends of town that say road closed, open to local traffic. Well, I can tell you a couple stories about open to local traffic. I myself tried to get to Cross Lake Canvas in this last roundabout with the road closed, and it's very intimidating. Those tractors are big. They're not friendly. They don't tell you, they don't point in a direction for you to go. They literally park in front of you and try to not get you to go through there. I talked to a guy who does bug control on homes in the area, the spider guy. And he tried to get into that area last year, and the guy told him to get out. You can't come through here. And that was business to resident, he was providing a service. I talked to a lady today who called, and she said her 80-year-old father, against her best advice, drives his big motorhome to the campground, and he's just not going to come this year. She said he's intimidated about the road project going on. He doesn't know how he's going to get into the campground. I assured her that there's going to be a very easy access into that campground, but she said he's just nervous and anxious about it, and he just doesn't want to go through that. So I'm not part of that project management team that you guys have when you meet regularly, nor the decisions affecting the whole program. But I did talk to Tim today about softening the signs. Maybe the signs could say road closed or intersection closed 2 miles ahead. Then at least the people that know the community will know that they have, if I'm down out at Browning Funeral Home and it says road closed, local traffic only, I'm just probably not going to come into town. If it says intersection closed 2 miles ahead, then I know Mossy areas or Riverside. Yeah. Business is open, or from the north, all the businesses are open. I don't know if you have to list them all. Tim said that would be custom signage, so, there'd probably be some money involved with that. But if you can soften the blow of what's going to happen here this summer, I think it would really go a long way toward residents, a long way toward the business community. I'm not kidding when I tell you it's been a long winter for them. It's been tough. Cross Lake has got to be open. Our number one industry is tourism. And if we don't have tourism this summer, just because of the whole stigma of, Cross Lake is closed again, that would be helpful. But how you get that message out, I don't know. And maybe it's a conversation with the Pine and Lakes Echo Journal that those posts don't cost anything. Maybe you don't have to be a member or a subscriber to see some of those posts. Just ask them.
Or maybe the city should just put them in. We could do that.
Doesn't Bolton and Mink have a website?
What did you say? What did you say?
That's it.
We do, but
Okay, thank you,
if you
Cindy.
remember at the special meeting, Tim gave you information where the county is setting up areas that people can go to get updates. That'll let you have updates. So the county is he here? Is he gone? Oh, he can speak about it. They're already trying to give avenues for people the last thing they want is people to come here and be pissed off.
I don't, but a lot of people can't navigate that. So, to put something in the paper, something above and beyond.
And we can certainly work with Shar and the county and put a hot link on the city's website so people can go to that as well. But I guess my point is, and we're happy to help, but the county will be handling all of the construction, observation, administration and stuff. And he does not want to be in the shoes we were 2 years ago. I know that.
So
If
you
they
can-
need
you
help
can subs-
downloading that Everbridge or anything, it's easy. They could come to City Hall and we can help them
But
download
even-
Everbridge
even
on
to
their
get-
phone.
Even to get that message out to them, that, if you're having difficulty, come and we'll help you.
There's something in our city website where we can put a notice, and no matter what section they are on the website, it's above big red letters. Once they click it, we can give some of that information, how to access it. If there's a URL we can include, we can put as much information on there as we
So
can.
if you guys could work
and we
with
can
Tim and just
Absolutely, I
make
can work
sure
with
that's-
Phil or whoever to
Okay.
get that done.
Great.
Pam?
Hi, Pam Graves, Sugarloaf Road, Cross Lake. I signed up for the alerts. It wasn't as easy as it seemed to be. I was circling around a little bit, but I have to say that I did get 6 messages today saying that this was a test, and you have signed up successfully, and you will be getting the updates. The problem I see is so few of our residents have come up with a solution for getting information with the loss of our paper. And they were used to getting weekly papers with the information and telling people to go to this website, go to that website. That isn't their normal way to get information. So they don't know to do that. They don't know to come to City Hall, that people are waiting to help them. How do we tell them with the loss of the paper, which was sudden and devastating for little newsy things and big newsy things and summaries of minutes from this meeting, how do 80% of the people get the information? So just,
Yeah, so those of us who are able to, will have to stop at the businesses, and I challenge the council. We
And
can, you can.
We can ask that it go in the church bulletins.
Yeah.
I mean,
So we'll have to just make a good effort to do
yeah,
whatever we
the
can
other
do.
ways to get the message out to people, and I like Cindy's idea of specific signs that say, "We are open." You may just need to get there a different way.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, we're going to spend some time with that and figure it out. How was your trip, Pat?
Great.
Awesome. Good,
Caught some fish, caught some sun,
good.
melted away. It was great. Pat Netco, 36084 County Road 66. I did speak with Tim earlier today and am extremely concerned about our summer and this road project. And realize that this is going to happen whether we want it or not. And we need to work together as a team and make this the least impact that we can with keeping the road open as much as we can. I'm not going to lie when I tell you that I am extremely nervous about this summer. Road closed on the north and the south end of the town, those signs cannot happen again. When those went up last year and we had no idea that was going to happen, I screamed in my car when I drove up there the first time. This is not just impactful for those of us who are in the middle of Phase 2 project. This is impactful for the entire town. And to be devastated for a summer income-wise after a winter like we've had with no snow and no snowmobiling and no ice and this is really scary. And we need to make sure that that is understood and that we need to help each other out and make the signs the best that we can and make whoever gets the contract for this to understand what this town is, that there is no easy way around the Phase 2 project. The Phase 1 project, I think we're going to be okay.
Yep.
But the Phase 2 project is a really scary deal if we're closed down in the middle of our busy season.
Well, I mean, there was a proposal, Tim, I don't know if it's been addressed yet, to have a,
Don't, be careful, would you? Let them make sure that.
Well,
I'm
no.
cautioning her not to say anything prematurely.
no, the timing of Phase 2, that there has been a request to perhaps have a break in between Phase 1 and Phase 2, so it's not like
Yeah.
a continuous issue.
We are working on multiple things to
Yeah.
try
Yeah,
to
well,
alleviate it.
and I know I'm a thorn in the side, but I have to
No,
speak
but-
up because this is a
Absolutely.
really scary thing. This is my livelihood, and it's the livelihood of all businesses in Cross Lake, and getting the residents from point A to point B as well. And when tourists come into town, tourism is our #1 industry. When tourists come into town, they see road closed, they're gonna go somewhere else. They're gonna come visit for the day, oh, road closed, oh, forget Cross Lake, we're not coming.
I'm wondering if, because Tim, as, my understanding is that, it's going to be a limited period of time, maybe just a few days or whatever, when the road will be completely impassable. So instead of having road closed, how about just construction ahead, except for those, very few days or, when it's actually closed, so that we don't have the road closed all the time, but just when it literally is closed.
Yeah,
Is
we're
that
just
possible?
asking for help
Yeah.
and communication and consideration.
We are going to have many meetings about it, and we're trying to work on it, so,
We're concerned too, Pat.
yeah. Was that public forum? Yeah.
Yep.
Anybody else?
Oh, does the city attorney have anything?
Jordan, do you have anything?
I have nothing to report separately here.
Okay, any new business?
I have something.
Go ahead.
Okay, is Abdo done with their entries for 2023?
I believe they are not done yet, but they should be very close.
Oh, I just didn't see them in the office anymore.
The audit is scheduled for the 20th, I believe.
They're doing everything remotely. They were just here for one day.
Oh, so you don't really know where they're at then? They haven't given you any
They've
entries?
been asking me to pull information even today, so they're
Oh.
working on it.
Okay.
Okay, any old business? Okay, Sandy,
I move to adjourn.
we have a second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.